Morning guys, as I said in the introduction to these video blogs, that I would do a walk around on my car. Now this is where I work a lot of the time. I'm actually based upstairs. This is where all the technical training goes on, and I thought I'd just come down during my lunch hour and give you a little bit of a walk around, because I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but very rarely for this part of the world, but it's raining outside, so that's why I thought I'd do this inside. Okay, so what can I tell you? First of all, this is the Wrangler Sorry, I was just hearing something coming from the background there. This is the Wrangler JL Rubicon 2-door. Comes with a 3.6 litre V6 Pentastar engine, and what I'll do for you now is I'll just pop the hood and I'll let you have a look at it from the outside. Okay guys, this is the 3.6 litre V6 Pentastar engine. It's been the stalwart of Fiat Chrysler automobiles for a long time. It appears in Dodge, Ram, Jeep obviously, and Chrysler vehicles. It was updated about in 2018, so it's a little bit more efficient. It gets about 6% more fuel economy, etc. And it develops an impressive 280 brake horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, and can get you from 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 7 seconds in the automatic version. For those of you that are in kilometers, that's about 96 kilometers, so it'll get you up to 100 kilometers an hour in about 7 seconds. I'm not going to give you the stats on the fuel economy. I'm going to give you my own stats, since I purchased this about a month ago, and now I use UK miles per gallon, and I'm getting about, in normal driving mode, not off-road, I'm getting about 24 miles per gallon, which equates to just under 12 litres per 100 kilometers. It's a great engine. Attached to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission, and an almost identical system with a V6 engine and 8-speed automatic is in the Grand Cherokee that I owned for 2.5 years. It's a fantastic combination of just the right amount of power, and with that 8-speed automatic transmission, delivers super smooth driving conditions. Okay, so as I said, this is the Rubicon, has the name proudly on each side of the hood, and the Rubicon comes as standard with the steel front bumper. Now you have the ability to remove these winglets here, which will give you better clearance when you're rock crawling, and also because it's steel, it comes winch ready. So if you wanted to fit a winch onto the front section here, you have all the strength you need to do that. My car has a little bit of a modification. If you have a close look at the lights, these are LED lights, but also you have the halo light here, which originally was put on the vehicle, but for some obscure reason, when the vehicle was introduced into the Middle East, it wasn't added. Okay, the vehicle normally comes with standard set of rims and 32-inch all-terrain mud tires. However, the gentleman who purchased this before me, because I bought this as a second-hand car, he had the simulated beadlock rims put on, and also he increased the tire size to 33 inches. One of the modifications I'm thinking I might do is to actually put proper full functional beadlocks onto this. I can take the tire pressure on this down to maybe 10 psi. With the beadlocks, you can take it down as low as you want. Okay, so on the interior, because this is a Rubicon, it has a couple of extra bits and pieces. So if you look down here, I can get this camera angle right, you can see it has lockers on the front and rear differentials. Now you can engage rear only, front and rear only. Now I was speaking to a guy yesterday who gave me what I thought was the best reason for only putting the rear lockers on. He said if you're having to do a lot of maneuvering but in a condition where you want to have your lockers on, he advised only putting the rear on, because when you put the front lockers on, it makes it difficult and doesn't do the car much good when you're trying to do some hard maneuvering while you got your lockers on. Beautiful setup, and literally if you want to switch them off, you just press this button to the side here. Another thing which is great is it has the disconnecting front sway bar. Now, sway bars are great when you're driving on road because it keeps your car stable when you're doing high-speed cornering. However, when you're off-road and you want a good articulation, which is, you want your wheels to be able to move up and down to a greater degree, then disconnecting the front sway bar is fantastic. A lot of off-roaders, they manually do that, but Jeep, when they developed this car, went, okay, let's just do it with the press of a button. The other thing it has is it has this bank of 4 auxiliaries buttons. Now for these you can use your winch, your lights, etc. On this particular one we have what's called a kill switch. Now the kill switch switches off all of the safety features effectively. Electronic stability control, anti-lock braking, traction control. All of these systems, they're integrated, and basically what they do is when they start to feel the wheels slipping, they'll apply the brakes, they'll reduce the engine power to keep the car under control. The issue that you've got is that when you're off-road in the desert, you don't want that to happen. So by pressing auxiliary 4, all of those features are switched off. Now the other thing I've done is in the power steps, if you're in the desert and you're sunk a bit in sand, if they come down and hit the top of the sand, you can put a lot of pressure on the motors. So I've actually had those wired through the kill switch as well. So when you press the kill switch, the side steps don't work anymore. One of the really cool things about Jeep is they love putting their Easter eggs in. So when you start this car, first thing you see is it comes up and tells you it's Rubicon. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see a little Jeep driving across the road. So one or two of you may have noticed that there's 2 gear levers on this. You have the standard gear lever, which is your automatic gear lever. You have park, reverse, neutral, drive, and you have manual control over the gearing. But you also have this. Now this is the lever that controls your transfer case. You have 2 high, you have 4 high auto, which is a new feature in the JL. Prior to the JL, that was not a feature, and it was something that Jeep owners had wanted for a long time. We have 4 high part time. This is the one when you're doing desert driving, you tend to use that most. You have neutral, and you have 4 low. So 4 low will be when you want to use, when you're doing rock crawling and you want lots of torque at very low speeds. One of the other things I've installed is this bullet point mobile phone holder. Now the arm's made of Kevlar, has a steel base plate which is screwed into the dashboard there, and I've used it on quite a few runs now, and your phone is rock solid. It doesn't go anywhere. It is a fantastic bit of kit, and if anybody's considering going off-roading and want to have their phone where they can see it, then it's a great purchase. However, one of the other things that this car has, which is great, is the Uconnect 4 system. Second attempt at filming the off-road pages. The first one had some kind of noise interference in it. So you can see there, my phone is connected into the media system, and we have Apple CarPlay down here. However, if we click on this one here, you see we go into the off-road pages. Now the first thing that's very cool about the off-road pages is that we have another Easter egg where you have the Jeep driving along the bottom of the page. And then we have, on this particular one, you have 3 different categories. Here you have the pitch and roll, which you can see is identical to the pitch and roll that you have on the driver display. Now I tend to keep it on the driver display for a reason which I'll show you in a minute. So you have pitch and roll, you have auxiliary gauges, which shows you all your coolant oil temperature, your battery voltage, your transmission oil temperature, and your oil pressure. But the one I really like is the drivetrain. And the reason I like the drivetrain is because your steering, I'm turning the steering wheel right now, it tells you what your steering, what angle your wheels are at. Now, when you have that one on, and you combine that with the pitch and roll in the driver display, you actually have the complete geometry of the vehicle. The other thing it does in the drivetrain, it tells you that your sway bar is connected, whether or not your front and rear axles are locked, and also it tells you what setting your transfer case is in. So very, very useful when you're off-roading. Uconnect 4 does an awful lot more than that, but as far as off-roading is concerned, this is a great page. Okay, now you always know if your spare wheels is okay when you have a Wrangler. You can see that this has the different rim. This was the original rims that came with the vehicle. So when the gentleman bought these rims, he only bought the 4. He didn't bother buying the 5th one. Tire is slightly different, but it is the same size, so if I have to put the spare on, it'll work. This is a bit of a monstrosity, but this here was, because this has the reinforced hinge, this bit here is much thicker than normal. So when you put your flag up, which you need to do in the desert, so people can see you when you're over the top of the dunes, the screw that held that was too short. So I asked the machine shop to make me a 2-inch bolt, and they made me a 3.5-inch bolt. So I just put a load of washers on there, and this is rock solid. It's not going to go anywhere. One of the other things that the gentleman did that bought this car originally is he had one of the Mopar compressors put in. Now this is great because obviously you've heard me talking in the videos, whenever you go in the desert, whenever you go rock crawling, you have to deflate your tires. Now there's a lot of locations here in the Middle East where they have the compressors there, so you go in, you can go and buy yourself some water and they will fill up your tires for you. But a lot of the places where we go off-roading, there's not that, so you need to have a compressor. Now this compressor is a built-in one. It's not the fastest, but if I've got my tires down to 10 psi, I can get them back up to 35, 36 psi in about 15 minutes. So it means that we're not restricted on where we can go off-roading. The other great element of the compressor here is you can connect it there on the outside. So if it's really, really hot, you can set it up. It'll inflate 2 tires at a time with the cables that I have. And you can sit in the car in the nice air conditioning while the tires are being inflated for you. Okay guys, that's a quick walk around about my car. Absolutely love it, it's fantastic. One last thing I want to mention about it is the crawl ratio on the Rubicon. Now, crawl ratio is how you calculate the amount of torque that the vehicle will produce at low speeds. Now when you're rock crawling, you want the maximum amount of torque at really low speeds as you're crawling over the rocks. Now the way you calculate the crawl ratio is you take the first gear ratio, multiply that by the 4-low ratio of the transfer case, and then you multiply that by the differential ratio. Now the Rubicon has Dana 44 differentials, front and rear, and they have a differential ratio of 4.1 to 1. The transfer case is in 4-low on this particular vehicle is 4.0 to 1, and the first gear ratio on the ZF8 HP automatic transmission is 4.71 to 1. Now if you multiply all of those numbers together, you end up with a crawl ratio of 77.2 to 1 with the automatic. It's even higher in the manual transmission. I think it's about 8.86 point something to 1. Now that is an incredible amount of torque. But what does it mean? What does crawl ratio actually mean? The number 77.2 means that for 77.2 revolutions of the engine, RPMs, The wheels will turn once. Now, there isn't a stock vehicle on the planet that has a crawl ratio as good as this. And in fact, the automatic Wrangler Rubicon crawl ratio is better than most manual crawl ratios. So in terms of a stock vehicle for rock crawling, my opinion, there's nothing better than this beast I'm sitting on at the moment. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the walk around about my car. Sorry about the condition. As I said, I'm going to be going and getting an extreme clean done on it later today. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Okay, see you on the next drive.